Let's play a game. I want you to close your eyes and picture hell. What do you see? You probably see a cavernous underground landscape. You see fire, lots of fire. You see demons poking people with pitchforks. Maybe you see different levels. You might imagine a sign above the gate that says, "Abandon hope, all the who enter here." And finally, at the bottom, you probably see Satan sitting on a throne of skulls, ruling over his fiery kingdom, laughing maniacally while he tortures sinners. Now, open your eyes. I have some bad news for you. Almost nothing you just imagined is in the Bible. The Bible never mentions 9 circles. It never mentions a gate with a slogan. It never describes specific, ironic punishments for specific sins. And it definitely never depicts Satan as the ruler of hell. In the Bible, Satan is a prisoner, not a warden. So, where did these images come from? Why does the entire Western world, from Looney Tunes 2 heavy metal album covers, share this specific hallucination of the underworld? The answer lies in the mind of one man. A man who was not a priest, not a saint, and not a prophet. He was a failed politician, a bitter exile, and a romantic poet who really held a grudge. His name was Dante Alighieri, and in the early 1300s, he wrote the world's most successful piece of fan fiction, the Divine Comedy. Welcome back. Today, we are going to look at how a medieval poem hijacked Christian theology. We are going to explore why Dante turned hell into a bureaucracy, why he froze the devil in ice, and how a work of political satire became the literal map of the afterlife for millions of people. To understand what Dante built, we first have to look at the empty lot he started with. If you strictly read the Bible, Old and New Testaments, looking for a map of hell, you are going to be disappointed. The scriptures are notoriously vague about the geography of the afterlife. In the Old Testament, you have Sheol. Sheol isn't hell. It is simply the grave. It is a shadowy underworld where everyone goes good and bad. It's dusty, quiet, and boring. It's not a place of torture. It's a place of non-existence. In the New Testament, you get a few more details. Jesus uses the word Gehenna. As we discussed in a previous episode, this was a reference to a literal garbage dump outside Jerusalem where fires burned trash. It implies destruction and waste. He talks about outer darkness and weeping and gnashing of teeth. The book of Revelation talks about a lake of fire, but that's about it. It's a terrifying concept, but it's geographically formless. It's just fire, darkness, separation from God. There is no structure. There is no tour guide. There is no explanation of how the punishment works. For over 1,000 years, Christians believed in hell, but they viewed it abstractly. It was a state of being, not a theme park. Enter Dante. Dante Alighieri was born in Florence, Italy, in 1265. We often think of him as a stern, statuesque figure. But to understand the Inferno, you have to understand that Dante was basically a victim of cancel culture. He was a high-ranking politician in Florence, but he picked the wrong side in a civil war between the white Guelphs and the black Guelphs. In 1302, his political enemies took power. +1. They seized his assets. They sentenced him to death if he ever returned to the city. Dante was forced to flee. He spent the rest of his life wandering Italy, homeless, broke, and furious. He wrote the Divine Comedy essentially as a way to cope with his anger. If you read the poem closely, it is filled with petty revenge. He encounters people he hated in real life, corrupt popes, rival politicians, neighbors who annoyed him, and he places them in the deepest, nastiest parts of hell. It is the ultimate diss track. But Dante did something no one had done before. He didn't just write a poem about feelings. He engaged in massive world building. He treated theology like a science fiction author treats a star system. He drew a map. Dante's genius was bureaucracy. The medieval mind loved order. They loved hierarchies. They loved categorizing things. So, Dante looked at the vague lake of fire and said, "This is too messy." God is a God of order. His prison must be organized. He created the 9 circles of hell. Imagine a giant funnel or cone drilled directly into the earth under Jerusalem. As you go down, the funnel gets narrower and the sins get worse. 1. Limbo, for the unbaptized virtuous pagans like Homer and Plato. It's not painful, just sad. 2. Lust, a hurricane of wind. 3. Gluttony, putrid rain and mud. 4. Greed, pushing heavy weights. 5. Wrath, fighting in a swamp. 6. Heresy, burning tombs. 7. Violence, a river of boiling blood. 8. Fraud, 10 ditches of filth, snakes and fire. 9. Treachery, a frozen lake. This structure changed everything. Before Dante, hell was just the bad place. After Dante, hell was a system. It had geography. It had rivers, Acheron, Styx. It had guards borrowed from Greek mythology, like Minos and Cerberus. Dante effectively merged Christian theology with Greek mythology and medieval politics. He created a cinematic universe of the afterlife. But the most influential thing Dante invented was the concept of contrapasso. This is the idea of counter-suffering or poetic justice. The punishment must fit the crime. In the Bible, the punishment is just fire. It's generic. Dante realized that generic punishment isn't satisfying to the human reader. We want irony. The lustful, in life, they let their passions blow them around aimlessly. So, in hell, they are trapped in a literal hurricane, blown around forever, never allowed to touch the ground. The fortune tellers, in life, they tried to look too far forward into the future. So, in hell, their heads are twisted backward 180 degrees. They have to walk forward while looking backward, crying tears that run down their butt cracks. Yes, Dante actually wrote that. The flatterers, in life, they spoke bullcrap. So, in hell, they are submerged up to their necks in a river of literal human excrement. This concept of contrapasso is what stuck in the cultural consciousness. When you watch a movie like Seven, or play a video game like Dante's Inferno, or even watch The Good Place, the idea that your specific sin generates your specific torture comes directly from Dante. He turned hell from a simple execution chamber into a psychological mirror. He argued that hell isn't something God does to you. Hell is just your own sin, stretched out into eternity. You become your sin. We have to talk about the fan fiction element. Who is the main character of the book? Dante, who is the hero who survives hell. Dante, who is the guide. Virgil, the Roman poet whom Dante idolized. This is classic self-insert. Dante writes himself into the narrative so he can hang out with his literary hero. Virgil acts as the wise mentor, guiding Dante through the dangers. And who is waiting for him in heaven, Paradiso? Beatrice. Beatrice Portinari was a real woman Dante met when he was 9 years old. He fell in love with her instantly, but they rarely spoke. She married someone else and died young. Dante never got over it. In his poem, he elevates this girl next door into the literal Queen of Heaven, the embodiment of divine grace who sends Virgil to save him. It is the grandest romantic gesture in history. He literally built a universe just to write a happy ending where he gets to see her again. Here is the biggest shock for modern readers. We are conditioned to think that the center of hell is the hottest place. We think of Satan as a being of fire. But in Dante's Inferno, the ninth circle, the absolute bottom of the universe is ice. It is the lake of Cocytus. Why ice? Because it is the furthest point from God. If God is light, warmth, and love, then the center of hell must be dark, cold, and hatred. Satan is not sitting on a throne. He is waist deep in the ice, frozen solid. He is not ruling, he is weeping. Dante describes Satan as a massive, three-headed beast. He is mindless. He is beating his 6 bat-like wings, trying to escape. But the wind from his wings only freezes the ice harder. The more he struggles, the more trapped he becomes. This is a profound theological statement. Evil is not a rival kingdom. Evil is stupid. Evil is self-defeating. Satan isn't the cool anti-hero from Milton's Paradise Lost. In Dante's version, Satan is a pathetic, drooling machine. In his 3 mouths, he is chewing on the 3 greatest traitors of history. 1. Judas Iscariot, who betrayed Jesus, the church. 2. Brutus and Cassius, who betrayed Julius Caesar, the empire. Dante really liked the Roman Empire, so betraying Caesar was right up there with betraying God. This image of a frozen, weeping Satan is radically different from the pop culture version, yet it is the climax of the most famous book about hell ever written. So, if the Bible is vague and Dante is just a poet, why do we all believe in Dante's version? 2 reasons: visuals and justice. 1. The visuals. Dante's writing is incredibly visceral. You can smell the sulfur. You can hear the screams. But in the 19th century, the French artist Gustave Doré illustrated the Divine Comedy. His woodcuts are terrifyingly beautiful. These images became the standard. When early filmmakers or cartoonists wanted to depict hell, they didn't look at the Bible, which has no pictures. They looked at Doré's drawings of Dante. We see Dante's hell because it is the only version that was high definition enough to paint. 2. The satisfaction of justice. The biblical hell is scary, but it's abstract. Dante's hell is fair. There is something deeply satisfying to the human brain about seeing the corrupt politician submerged in tar, or the greedy billionaire crushed by weights. Dante provided a moral taxonomy. He reassured people that the universe has rules, that bad people don't just go away. They get exactly what they deserve, measured out to the ounce. It is important to note, the Catholic Church never officially adopted Dante's map as doctrine. The Church doesn't teach that there are 9 circles, or that you get turned into a tree if you commit suicide, circle 7. However, the poem was so popular and so powerful that it bled into the sermons. Priests started using Dante's imagery to scare peasants because it was more effective than the vague scriptures. Over centuries, the line between theology and poetry blurred. Purgatory, for example, was a vague theological concept before Dante. Dante turned it into a mountain, Mount Purgatory. After Dante, people started imagining purgatory as a hill you have to climb. He gave geometry to faith. In the end, Dante didn't really invent hell. He invented a mirror. The Inferno isn't really about what happens after you die. It's about what happens while you are alive. The sinners in Dante's hell are stuck in their sins. The angry people are stuck being angry. The greedy people are stuck being greedy. Dante was suggesting that we build our own hells every day. When you let your anger consume you, you are already in the fifth circle. When you let your lust blow you around, you are already in the second circle. He took the anxieties, fears, and politics of the 14th century and projected them onto a screen so large that we are still watching the movie 700 years later. So, the next time you see a cartoon devil with a pitchfork, remember, you aren't looking at the Bible. You are looking at the revenge fantasy of an exiled Italian who just wanted to settle a score. And honestly, as far as fan fiction goes, it's a masterpiece. If you enjoyed this descent into the underworld, hit that subscribe button. Next up, we are going to look at The Serpent Wasn't Satan and explore the biggest retcon in the history of the Book of Genesis.